Hey everyone. Today I wanted to kind of talk briefly about this environmental impact law, or EIS law. This is HRS 343. So recently it's been vilified, just not for lack of a better word. And the rhetoric is that, yeah, this is only NIMBYs use this in order to torpedo projects, because they're selfish. Okay, so that's kind of, it's been so far as like uh, suspended in the governor's first iterations of the affordable housing emergency proclamation. So that's this idea that this law creates such monumental, I guess, regulatory hurdles that makes building impossible. That's kind of the rhetoric that it's this law. It's not cost of materials. It's not cost of labor. It's not cost of land, right? It's this law that is making housing unaffordable. Oh, it's not the high demand either. Yeah. Anyway, um, so just kind of wanted to walk through the the impetus of this law. So like this is the first section, and this is uh, why it was made. Was it really made just so that influential NIMBYs could torpedo stuff? Well, I don't know. Let's see. So the purpose of this law is that the legislature in the past found that the quality of the environment is critical to our well-being, and that the idea here is that you would alert the decision makers to significant environmental effects, um, and they claim that it's desirable because environmental consciousness is enhanced, cooperation, coordination encouraged, and public participation during the review benefits all parties and society as a whole. So, um, this really is the legislative purpose of this law, um, our environmental protection, the EIS law, and um, it's to ensure that the environment, right? Environmental concerns have like a seat at the table, right? When we're making these big decisions. So it's not just, um, you know, can I afford it or can the developer make profit? It's not just can it physically be built, by do the architects say it's okay? Do the civil engineers say it's okay? Do builders say that they can build this? Like, those are the other right concerns that tend to dominate um, development projects. But this law is saying, hey, um, environmental concerns kind of deserve a seat at the table, right? And this process will enable our decision makers, right? The decision makers here to understand what the ramifications are, right? Like what is these interrelations, and what is the impact um, of a proposed project. So that's kind of um, that really is the purpose of this law. Um, okay, so you have this law, and what happens is it needs to be triggered, meaning that something needs to happen where we're saying, okay, this law is now applicable, this process, the EIS process. Um, and one of the most common triggers, I don't know, is this A1 here. When you propose the use of state or county lands or funds, um, that would be a trigger that would activate this this law, and then you would have to go through this process. So propose the use of state or county lands or funds would be um, one of the most common triggers, and there's other ones. If it's conservation area, shorelines, blah blah. And I'm going to jump into, okay, so this is HRS 343, and then the actual nuts and bolts implementation details come in this HAR 11 200 TAC 1 or dot 1. Um, and I'm in subsection 13. This is the significance criteria, and um, there's 13 of them that are kind of defined here. That would, if this process activates, then they'll come here and look for these potential 13 significance criteria. If they find one of them, at least one, then it'll go through this EIS process where um, you'd have to scope it out. What is it, and then you'd have to have a process to analyze it, and then potentially mitigating actions. So that would be kind of this process. I just want to highlight a few for this in this case. Number one, irrevocably commit a natural, cultural, or historic resource. So the Aria Lane, the site, there's a bunch of old buildings there, and I think they had a survey in the PDH referencing the building 100. It's considered historic, so it's not on the historic register. But it was considered to have it's like in an era, right, or by a architect that was prominent or whatever. So it has this historic potential historic value. Um, the PDH application, they're gonna just demolish it, and they have a proposed mitigating measure where I think they're gonna put a little placard somewhere where they're gonna say like, oh, you know, building was here type of thing. Okay, so, um, but anyway, I mean, it would irrevocably commit that thing, right, to be like rubble pile and then replaced with like a little placard maybe. Right? Um, this is a big one. Number six. So environment is not just like only trees and buildings or whatever. Um, the environment includes like the people living there. Like it's like the community is part of the local environment. So when you number six here, if you have adverse secondary impacts, population change, effects on public facilities. So I mean this one really it's like the the what is the traffic concerns of Manoa, the interactions. I mean in the TIR, there's phrasing to be like, oh, it could increase like unwanted interaction between vehicles and pedestrians or something. It's like it's a maybe a politically correct way to say like there's a higher chance that pedestrians are gonna get hit or something. Um, that's definitely adverse secondary impact, right? So this idea that the existing infrastructure, public facility, the existing road, um, maybe cannot support the increase in population density down that small road. So it's kind of a big one. Um, yeah, so those are two I think that could apply potentially in this uh, proposal, the Aria Lane proposal. And this is OHA's comments. This is what they're writing into the PDH application. So DBP will reach out to the agencies as well as the public for the public hearing. That's going to be on the 7th. They also reach out to the other agencies, state and county agencies. This is OHA's um, comments to the Aria Lane proposal. Um, so they have a few like interesting. They bring up a few pretty good points, really. I thought. Um, One is they're questioning this cultural outreach. So um, there was, the town hall. So there was general outreach, but OHA's questioning whether or not there was enough specifically cultural uh, outreach to say what is the current, what would be the impact, cultural impact. Uh, And they said normally they have this cultural impact assessment as part of this HRS 343, our EIS law, um, that would at least be a framework in order to make, kind of a framework that makes sure that there's input opportunity for, different groups, right, to express if there's any cultural impact. Um, OHA is going to question the lack of HRS 343 trigger. um, they have two reasons to think that EIS should or could be applied. Um, and it's kind of it's stated in this last paragraph. So it hinges on this idea of the use, proposed use of state or county land. So um, if this proposal requires improvements to Pomoa Road, that would be use of county land, right? City currently owns the right of way on Pomoa, so not just the road, but there's a section of unimproved, like what now is just like whatever grass, but there's a section of unimproved area um, that the city owns. So if there's any improvements called for the project, then that would be a use of county land, and according to the EIS law, that would be a trigger. The second one is the access road through UH. So UH is a private, that road is a private road on that side. It's owned by the University of Hawaii, so it's a state um, owned land, state land. And the idea is that if they propose to use that, for emergency access, that would be um, a trigger. And um, in OHA's comment, they're gonna say that the negotiated use uh, could be a trigger. Um, I mean, for me, I'm taking it a step further. Like, okay, so to me, the law is the law is propose the use of. It's not use or get the right to use or negotiate use. It's propose. Propose the use will trigger. Um, so you don't. I don't think we have to wait for negotiated use. Um, Here, so let's look at this. So this is Aria Lane's PDH application. This is what they're saying. Um, Access via promo row at the top. Blah 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 blah. Okay, there will be secondary emergency access. UH campus. Blah 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 blah. The proposed improvements will extend onto UH owned parcel, so state-owned land, and thus will be coordinated with UH. So um, they are proposing the use of state land, right, in this proposal. So the argument here is that that would be HRS 343 trigger, and that they should at least be going through this process where, again, they would actually go into detail in the significance criteria and see if there are any that would be potentially significant, and if so, that would start the EIS process for this proposal. So yeah, thank you for listening.